plans are essential. All businesses have budgets. They budget how they're going to spend their money each year or even each quarter. Major League Football teams have plans well mapped out and practiced before they even hit the field on Sunday. Likewise, you wouldn't pay somebody to build a house for you without them providing you with a blueprint to look at first. So with that being said, do you have a plan for your personal growth and development? I want you to stay tuned for the 5 books that I feel will steer you in the direction of growth. And as always, please like and subscribe so we can grow together. So without further ado, the first book on the list is going to be Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. So I don't know if I recommended this book before, but this is a great title. I put this book on the list because in today's digital age, it's easy to get wrapped up in our problems. The first rule of living a successful life is taking responsibility of every situation you're involved in. This 94-page book can be read in one sitting, but it provides us valuable lessons that we can apply that have to do with how we handle change. Change is something that consistently happens throughout our life. Nothing stays the same. And if things do stay the same, it's because we're no longer living. So whether you're facing changes at work, changes at home, changes with your children, changes in just your overall environment, this book will help you deal with that change and implement lessons to have you look at change differently. This book, like I said, is 94 pages and it's pretty easy to stay engaged with. Big text and titles and stuff like that. You can tackle each lesson one by one, or you can read the book throughout and then go back and reread the book. But I think this book should be read at least once a year. It's a pretty easy read. I'm curious to see what you think about this book. So after you read this book, come back to the comments and let us know how it benefited your life and how you saw the world afterwards. Our second book on the list, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. This is the timeless art of turning trials into triumphs. I put this book on the list because life is full of obstacles, just like life is full of change. If you have a life that's not full of obstacles, you're not going hard enough. What this book helps you do is transform the way you look at obstacles through the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and other Stoic philosophers. This book sits at 180 pages, I think around 180 pages. There's some excerpts in there. And it's a pretty easy read. And like I said, you can tackle it chunk by chunk or read it straight through. But if you pair this book with The Daily Stoic, these are 2 good books to read together. The way I looked at this book is I was facing a lot of challenges, both inside and outside the military. And I felt like I was just getting a lot of onslaught of obstacles thrown in my way. And when I started reading this book, it helped me transform my thought process to look at obstacles as just another chance to learn and become greater. So please go ahead and add this book to your library. It's a great little book you can throw in your backpack or on your bookshelf or when you take it with you when you travel, and it'll provide you some great insight of how to turn obstacles into triumphs. Okay, the third book on this list, one of my favorites, Mastery by Robert Greene. Yes, this is the same Robert Greene who wrote 48 Laws of Power. Each one of us has the potential to be a master in the field that we choose to learn in. This book helps us submit to the training required to be great, surpass our competitors, and unlock the passion in whatever field we choose to dive into. It sits at about 300 pages and it's a pretty mid-tier read. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of biased because I like Robert Greene in general. He's one of my favorite authors and I really like the way he writes these books. The reason I like this book is because Robert Greene gives us an idea, then he shows how great people have used these ideas through time. And then after he gives us that example, he dives deep within the idea and analyzes it, and then we can apply these ideas directly to our life. So mastery is extremely important. Self-mastery is number 1 first, because if you can't master yourself, it's really hard to master anything else. And I think that this book will help you grow leaps and bounds. So that's why it's one of my favorite books on the list. And with that, we're gonna move on to the next one. Okay, our 4th book on the list, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. The reason I put this book on the list is because we've all worked under terrible leadership and we've all hopefully worked under great leadership, whether at the office or, you know, in school, a teacher you had the teachers that you liked and the teachers you didn't. What separated those great leaders from the bad leaders was how they looked at leadership and how they practiced leadership. I added this book to improve how you lead others in life, whether it be your children, your lover, or yourself. Picture it like a direction book of leadership. The book sits at about 300 pages, and it's a pretty easy read. You can sit down and read each lesson and then try to apply that lesson to your life, and then those lessons will stick with you a lot easier than if you kind of read the whole book, because you know, our memories aren't that great. So as you continue to read, you might forget earlier lessons. So you read each lesson and then apply that lesson to your life. If you follow these laws, people will follow you. So this book is last on the list, but it's certainly not the least on the list, and it's currently one of my favorite books of all time. I've read this book 3 times. I've listened to the audiobook consistently in my car, and I think that it's a book that belongs on everybody's bookshelf. Without further ado, this is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book is beneficial because it helps us deal with our most important asset, other people. I have to continually read this book because I'm an introvert and I've always struggled to connect with large groups of people. That's something that I'm constantly always working on, and that's why I feel like it's very important for me to keep rereading this book. And if you're somewhat introverted or you're an extrovert, you would still benefit from reading this title. This book was published during the Great Depression, I believe, and it has lessons in here that can help you get ahead in life, whether the economy is doing great or it's kind of slumped. What I like about this book is that even though it was published a long time ago, the lessons in this book read true today because people are still the same as they were back then. When you read this book, I want you to focus on the human lessons that Carnegie was trying to get across in this title. Try not to get too caught up in the wording or the jargon, but really just try to extract the lessons and apply those lessons directly to your life. I think this book should be revisited like once a year. If you don't want to read the whole book again, there are summaries of the book that you can reread to help you draw upon the knowledge of your original read. But it's always important because as you live life, you're gonna constantly and consistently deal with people. So wouldn't you want to learn how to deal with people the best way you can? That's what this book delivers. It sits at about 250 pages. The print is kind of small, but it's pretty easy to read and straightforward. So there you have it. These have been my top 5 books to lead you and steer you in the direction of growth. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. If you've read any of these books, please leave a comment letting us know what you liked about this book. How were you able to apply its ideas in your life? All right, peace.